I'd like to welcome you today to our study, our presentation, dissertation, as we go further into our educational base here of Arcodius, and putting out truth to the people. Truth is a word that is very lacking today because of the political and religious entities who do not want you to know the truth. They want you to sit in darkness so you can maintain being their lab rats, and they can steal from you, purge you of any wealth, any respect, any nobility, any pride. They can just wear you down. But we're going to have a lecture today because my last lecture was entitled From the Past to the Present. This educational presentation will be from the present to the future. And 2 lectures ago, it was Everything is Not What It Appears to Be. I deliberately brought these 3 together to show you that everything is not what it appears to be, and then from the past to the present, and now from the present to the future. And what you see and what you want to believe in your own mind is up to you, because you have to decide on what is being shown to you, because what is going to be shown to you and told to you today involves everybody, no matter who they are, but especially you out here, those of you who follow Yahweh, call upon Yahweh's name, Yahweh the Christ, all right, and who understand that we, the white European, men, women, and children, and nations of the earth, are the descendants of Israel the man, once called Jacob. That we are, i.e., God's chosen people. So with that, let's get started into our presentation. From the present to the future, I'm Dr. James P. Wickstrom, P.O. Box 308, Linwood, Michigan, 48634, U.S. of A. My blog site is www.jameswickstrom.com. My email is drjameswickstrom@gmail.com, or send me an email. And my 2 presentation areas on YouTube is Arcodius, Arcodeaus, and Arcodius Reloaded on YouTube. Most of you will be watching this on Arcodius. Some of you will have the DVD that you'll be watching in your living room or on your laptop or wherever. It's Saturday, January 27, 2017. I want to thank you again for allowing me to come into your living rooms or wherever you are, whether you're watching this on Facebook or Twitter or wherever instrument you're watching it on, because the truth is for you to have something very lacking in the educational sector today. I have my can't fix stupid wrench handy today, so I'm going to keep that real handy today, okay? For those that, believe me, it's a chore to try and fix stupid, okay? And there's a lot out there. We just saw more than 1 million of them marching in the Capitol in different places around the world a couple days ago, all right? So, with that, a lot of people wonder what's happening. They just can't seem to put it together. But you know, you receive not because you ask not in His name, Yahweh, or in Aramaic, Yahivahi, or Yahweh is His name, the name of the Almighty Father, Yahweh the Christ, Yahweh the Anointed, Yahweh Emmanuel, God with us. And you get not because you change not. He told you on bended knee to confess your sins, ask forgiveness, and change from your wicked ways. You get not because you change not. It's very important. All right? Next. Now, for those of you who watched the presentation, my last presentation, from the past to the present, now we will zoom into the future. All right? And what our Father says in these 66 books right here. All right? The books, the manual. All right? It states in Isaiah 24:20 that the earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and it shall be removed, like out of the tilting of the earth or its axis, okay, like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, upon the earth, and it shall fall and not rise again. This is the King James Version of Isaiah 24:20. So we'll start at verse 17. Fear and the pit and the snare are upon you, O inhabitants of the earth. And it shall come to pass that he who fleeth from the noise of the fear shall fall into the pit, and he that comes up out of the midst of the pit shall be taken in a snare. For the windows from on high are open, mass of rain, thunder, lightning, wind, and the foundations of the earth do shake. These are the earth plates. These are earthquakes, mighty earthquakes. He said it was never ever happened as big. And the earth is utterly broken down. The earth is cleanly dissolved, and the earth is moved exceedingly. The earth isn't going to be destroyed, but the earth is moved exceedingly. Verse 20. Again, the earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard. It shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. Did not our Father tell us that the mountains would fall? What creates mountains? The earth plates do. They push up the mountains like the Himalayas and everything else. We are going into subject matter that is going to be very, very important for you to hear today and to understand. All right? Verse 21. And it shall come to pass in that day that Yahweh shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings or the rulers of the earth upon the earth. And they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days shall they be visited. Verse 23. Then the moon shall be confounded, and the sun ashamed, when YHVH, Yahweh in English, of hosts, shall reign in Mount Zion, the new Jerusalem, Zion on the Mississippi, the North American continent, and in the new Jerusalem, and before his ancients gloriously. So we're going to have a great electromagnetic situation taking place on the earth. The earth is going to tilt. It's going to stagger like a drunkard. This is all electromagnetics, okay? The North Pole, the South Pole, the equator, the tilting of the earth. It's going to create havoc upon the entire surface of the earth. This is going to come to pass. It is already starting to shake. The earth is already moving and vibrating at about a 2% variation. It's starting to get up there. Volcanoes are getting more rapid, they're getting bigger, earthquakes are getting more frequent, more stronger. We're going into that today. Everything is for you to know and to understand. And what is going to take place? Well, when we talk about the earth itself and the inhabitants of the earth, I need not have to remind you that the vast majority of the population, they live on the ocean coast. the coasts of their country, okay? Because at that time, transportation with boats brought goods and services they needed the water, or on the rivers, okay? And the majority of the population with shipping and everything else live on the coast. The east coast of the United States, the Gulf Coast, the west coast, on the coast of China, Japan, the majority of the coast, Australia, everywhere. But you see, our Father Yahweh is not a respecter of anyone. He's not a respecter of old men with gray hair or suckling babes. When His judgment comes, it's coming big time. And it's going to affect every man, woman, and child on this earth, of which you're going to see. So, when you take a look at all these things that are taking place, what are and what is envisioned for these things to take place? I want to inject here really quick. Almost all the leaders, the rulers of the earth are going to Antarctica at this time. They have either already gone or they're continuing to go to Antarctica. Something has been discovered. Something has been found. It's not an anomaly. It is something either physical or whatever, but something big has been discovered, but they don't want you to know about it, because it could alter your thinking about your present religion and political system. I just want to bear that in mind. That's a whole new subject. I'm not going there. I'm staying focused on what I'm bringing to you from Yahweh our Father. All right? What would be the four phases of the earth as it steadily staggers like a drunkard in space? We have to think about these things. And we have to put it in the context of the knowledge and the understanding that our Father Yahweh, Emmanuel, God with us, okay, told us about. So I'm bringing it in as four phases, the four phases. Phase 1, starting in 2016, we have A, an abrupt climate change. We have B, the rising of ocean levels. C, we have relocations of government agencies, and military are actually, these are evacuations. In the state of Washington, they're bringing most of their materials and weapons and that inland from the state of Washington at the big Puget Sound. Up in the state of Washington, they're bringing them inland to protect them in big bunkers and stuff. They have moved the National Security Agency off the East Coast and built a mammoth complex in Colorado. They didn't do that to go out there and have tea and crumpets. They didn't leave the East Coast because they wanted to, or they just wanted to buy another piece of property. Keep these things in mind. And this is continually going on all over this country without you being told. Or the underground cities and the underground bunkers and the underground 4-lane highways and the transit systems that have been already installed. Let's continue. We're talking 2016 here. And what do they want? Well, they don't want to tell the people about the staggering of the earth, the shifting of the earth, because number one, they want normal commerce to continue. They want people to understand they still have a career stability. Number three, to have family interactions. And all three categories above, to the masses, appear to be normal. Appear to be normal. That's what this is all about. As in 2016, going into 2017, of which we are now. And then we go into phase 2, entering into 2017. Number one, abrupt weather changes. Number two, bizarre weather. 3, earthquakes become more frequent and stronger in 2017. We're just in January. Stay focused. You're going to see what's going to happen here. And number 4, tidal waves more frequent. So all four sections above become more numerous and daily news to the world, so that ordinary people will kind of comment on how strange the weather is. I hear a lot of people already talking about it. The record-breaking temperatures in Florida and Texas, all over the United States. We've had a front over Michigan for about 6-7 days of fog. High temperatures of fog, just stagnant. Of course, with HARP and ELF, they can create these things to happen where they want them to. Let's continue. So the government and the control media will claim it's due to global warming, so no panic sets in on the masses to understand these are great changes. Note, the vast majority of people on the earth live on the water coast of the world. Also recently, a water monitoring buoy in the Atlantic Ocean recorded a record high wave over 75 meters high, where 1 meter equals 3.28084 feet, or the wave was 246 feet high since monitoring buoys have ever been used. It's the biggest wave they've ever recorded. Bear in mind all these things I'm going to share with you today. It's very important. Very. Phase 3. After a somewhat period of time, it could be weeks, months, or whatever, it will come to a point that masses of people will start to really notice that something is drastically wrong and dangerous. And they will start doing things they usually would not do. The start of panic will start to show its hoary head in the United States and the rest of the world. But the governments of the world, including the United States, know what it is to take place. And they do not want the masses to panic, close shop, and start to shut down the local economy by leaving for another area, as would happen if enough people did so. Number 2, remember, as the earth staggers even more as a drunker and wobbles more, the electromagnetic fields are bouncing, things are happening, the water is slushing, okay, the equator is kind of joggling around. Keep all these things in mind now, for the Father told us that these things would happen. I read it to you. Now, 2, the goal of government at this time is to keep as many of the masses in the dark as long as possible. And those who know what is about to happen are keeping their mouth shut and are going along with their daily life functions, but they are prepared.
That's right.
And then we enter into a crucial stage. Can I have a little of the common sense here today from my common sense jug? Excuse me. Phase 4. 1. The now present into the age, not into the world, to the surface of the earth, and to the present world geography of the earth, as we know it today, and the beginning of a, quote, a new heaven and a new earth, as we were told, as written by the prophets and the sages of old, for Yahweh to his people, that is recorded right in these 66 books. Point 2. As the massive tidal waves, massive earthquakes, never as large ever before, and volcanoes come into play, the infrastructure of nations as we know them to be will be destroyed, especially the United States of America, or the North American continent, we'll call it. Now note, the parchments of the Bible state that 1/3 of all the ships of the oceans and seas will be destroyed. as well as the fishes and other elements in the waters. 3. No major seaports will be available to load or unload cargo. In other words, human activity will be wiped out. 100 to 150 million people on the coast of the United States will either be dead, and the rest who survive will not even have drinkable water, food, shelter, or safety. Now you may be saying to yourself, well, you're guessing. No, I'm not guessing. I'm putting everything in place for you. For Father Yahweh said, it shall come in one day. The cleansing of the earth. His earth, by the way. Bear that in mind. 4. Massive panic, rioting, chaos will ensue. Martial law will be instituted. Total economic collapse leading to massive social disruption will immediately take place. This is not just the United States. This is going to be worldwide, where the present religions and political system are trying to maintain and continue to maintain their control over the masses, while their little cities underground and shelters underground supplied with food that you, the taxpayer, paid for, and their safety and shelter is all there waiting for them. Let's continue. 8. A police state will come into being, and most of the masses will abide, still believing that things will get better, instead of leaving for a safe haven in time. You may be saying to yourself, well, what safe haven? Didn't the Father say they would even run into the caves and say, let the rocks fall down upon us and protect us from him who is doing this, the wrath of Yahweh, against a very corrupt, immoral, antichrist political and religious system?
Right.
Think of these things. Well, let's continue. What does the U.S. Navy intelligence have to say about what I'm talking about? Whoa, okay, well that's a pretty good source. You know, they've got a little information and know what's going on, all right? Military intelligence is very intelligent. Don't ever think that they're not, all right? So let's see what the U.S. Navy has to say about what I've just talked about, and my preempt of the world, gonna stagger like a drunkard and everything else. You haven't heard this from anyone before in the identity movement. And you've never heard it on television or anywhere else. But Father Yahweh said, feed my sheep. Feed my people. Warn my people of what I, Yahweh, am going to do. Let's continue. U.S. Navy intelligence. They believe that the tidal waves of the oceans will come up over a period of 30 days to attain maximum destruction on the east, the west, and the Gulf Coast of the United States. Number 1. Naval intelligence has surmised that almost all the states of Wisconsin and Illinois will be gone. Are you sinking that in, you people that are living in Wisconsin and Illinois? This comes from your naval intelligence, which is not being shared with the common lab rats out here, okay, no matter where they live, because you've only been used anyway to be the little worker bees and to be taxed to allow all these great leaders who have not told you anything so they can prepare to get out of the way, okay? Not all of the United States will be destroyed either, all right? But let's continue. Now, let's take a look at this time of a naval intelligence map and see what they're preparing for, as well as some other maps relating to the aftermath of the destruction in the United States and of the white European nations also. Map number 1. Here's a U.S. Navy map of future America. The blue is now the water in just the area called the United States of America. It's not included with Canada. It is not included into Mexico to the south. Here we have the Great Lakes, Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, Lake Huron. We have Lake Erie, okay, Lake Ontario. We have the St. Lawrence Seaway. But here on the East Coast, because of the massive tidal waves that they know is going to take place, they know it's going to take place, Naval Intelligence. This is their map. The blue shows where the new coastlines are going to be on the North American continent. Here's your West Coast. Say goodbye to the vast majority of California, a vast portion of Oregon and Washington, and of course as we go inland here, we talk about New Mexico and Nevada, portions of Utah. Up here we have Idaho, Montana, okay, North and South Dakota, Minnesota up here, okay. Here, the U.S. Navy map of the future shows Illinois totally gone. But down here in Missouri and Arkansas, as I will get into it, you have the mountain ranges there, around Mountain Home and that. But we'll get into this, but I wanted to show you this map. You have a right to see this because you paid for it out of your tax money, for them to have the money to do the research and to put this knowledge forth. I'm not here to terrorize you. I am not here to give you fear. So Father Yahweh said, to fear Yahweh is the beginning of all wisdom. I am not here for that purpose. I am here to share truth with you. If you have ears to hear and eyes to see. Here we have another map that was released later by the U.S. Navy. As you can see, the darkened area here is the new sea coasts. Okay, this is all water now, coming down into the Gulf Coast. Florida's totally gone, and everybody on it. And here we can see where, as I told you before in other lectures, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, it's all swampland anyway, the vast majority of it, all right? And you're going up to north and south, South and North Carolina, all right? And you're going right up the coast. And they figure and have estimated the tidal waves are going to be so massive, the tsunamis that are going to be coming with the tilting and the shifting and the staggering of the earth. This is their prognosis. Here on this map, they show Wisconsin and Michigan's Upper Peninsula and Illinois almost totally gone. Here we have the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Here is the Lower Peninsula of Michigan here. So a portion of Texas is going to be greatly inundated, all right, as in Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi. But I want to show you this. This will be the new Mississippi River coming down. It's not going to be a little river, by the way. It's going to be a big river coming down in through this part of the country. And of course, down in the New Madrid Fault, down in southern Illinois, is going to be a massive earthquake down there, bigger than the earth has ever known, all right? And over here, we have, up in the state of Washington, Puget Sound and everywhere else, I told you that big naval base up here, they're moving a lot of their war materials, missiles, armaments, and different things far inland, and they've been doing it for the past 3 years. Next, please. You say to yourself, well, what about Hawaii? And I say to you, what about Hawaii? Did not Father Yahweh said all the islands shall flee away? They shall be gone. What about the Caribbean? I wouldn't want to be out on a cruise boat when these things take place, all right? See, things are already changing, and you see them changing yourself. Let's continue. Here we have the new heaven and new earth, as Father Yahweh said, the Christ. There will be a new heaven and a new earth. The earth changes, composite map. This is another map that has been brought up, another separate source, all right? They show land coming up off the area of Florida. They show only partial destruction of Florida here. I disagree. I think the whole state of Florida is going to be gone. They show here parts of Wisconsin and Illinois, some parts of Michigan, all right, being wiped out, showing the Mississippi again coming down here, and showing Louisiana totally inundated, totally gone, totally gone. And here, this map kind of correlates with Edward Case, the sleeping prophet, when he envisioned that the West Coast would eventually be, when everything quiets down, about 50 miles west of the state of Kansas. The Rocky Mountains are going to be totally gone. The mountains shall fall. The earth plate shall snap all over the world. All right. The mountains shall fall. Massive tsunamis, massive earthquakes, and volcano activity. Next, please. And it states in the book of Revelations of John the Divine, because I'm not here, again, I'm not here to create fear. I'm not here to get you in a panic, okay? But I'm really deeply praying to Yahweh, and in Yahweh's name, that you please listen carefully to what's being presented to you. What I lectured on and presented in my past presentation, from the past to the present, when I talked about the Anunnaki, and I talked about Nibiru, the planet, coming into our solar system, and many things. Now we're progressing deeper into understanding. That's why this presentation is entitled From the Present to the Future. Now, Revelations chapter 6, 11 to 17, and the heavens departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. Now, does it take much to understand that? Do you need an interpreter to really understand that sentence? That came out of John the Divine for the very end time? Because it says in verse 11, and white robes were given unto every one of them, and it was said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season, a little while, until their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed as they were should be fulfilled. Verse 12, and I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. Verse 13, and the stars of heaven fell upon the earth, even as a fig tree casts her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. Verse 14 again, and the heavens departed, and a scroll when it was rolled together, and every mountain, do you see that word, every, not some, every mountain and island were moved out of their places. Can you imagine the force that would have to create this? Well, this is part of the judgment of Almighty Father Yahweh upon His people and upon the earth for disobedience, and upon a very evil and wicked political and religious system. Right. As of in this time that was created by the Jew, the Edomite Constantine, at about 324, 325 AD, of which you refer to as the Roman Catholic Church, who worship their statues and pagans and pillars and concrete upside-down bathtubs with Mary in it. And Judeo-Christianity, which is nothing but second-hand Catholics. And all the rest. Now, 15. And the kings are the rulers of the earth, and the great men, the politicians, and the rich men, the bankers, and the chief captains, high-ranking military, and the mighty men, the Fortune 500 people, and every bondsman and every free man hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains. A little high ground, got to get to a little high ground, but you better watch out what high ground you're going to, because some of that high ground is going to be low ground when the mountains fall. And said to the mountains and the rocks, fall on us, hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. Verse 17, for the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to abide and stand? Here we have another map showing us a topographical map, a geographical map of what is looked at, that shall be left of the North American continent. All right. Here we have the massive, you can see here, the great fault lines of the Rocky Mountains. Over here we have the Cascades and the Sierra Nevada in California. Forget about them. Here's the great fault lines that also run down into this portion of the North American continent that no one wants to tell you about, that were all blue, weren't they? It was all blue with water from the U.S. Naval Intelligence maps, wasn't it? Here's the new Mississippi running down here. See how large it is down here? Massively large. This is going to get very interesting. Over here on the East Coast, you got the Blue Ridge Mountains that are going to protect you over here on the East Coast. And temporarily, you're going to have the Rocky Mountains protecting from the West Coast, as well as Sierra Nevadas and the Cascade, the mountain range up north of Oregon and Washington, okay? But it'll only be a temporary situation. Next, please. Here we have another map where it shows the Great Divide Basin here. This is called the Great Divide Basin, all right? Here we have the West Coast and Puget Sound, the big naval base in Puget Sound. You can kiss that goodbye. You can kiss by up in Maine, the great submarine base up there. That's going to be gone. The Gulf port bases are going to be gone. All the ports are going to be destroyed where shipping comes into, all right, and out of, with supplies and things like that. So here we have most of the states after the Rocky Mountains fall, of which they will fall. Here we can see an area that is going to be gone. And by the way, you spell that G-O-N-E, because you see it's all desert. It's all low. Did you know in New Mexico and parts of Nevada, they bored or drilled down about 150 feet and hit salt water? Oh yeah, years ago. But they didn't want people to know that, did they? Next, please. Here we have an interesting situation. Reverse that, please. Here we have an interesting map that I wanted to share with you because it goes into another element of destruction and what can come to pass here, okay? Here we have a map with the earthquake zones with nuclear reactor locations. This is from the USGS and the Department of Energy. This is the United States of America. And you people that are watching this in Europe, be patient. I'll be showing what's going to happen to you. Be patient. I haven't forgotten you. All right? So here, all the red dots that you're seeing on this map are nuclear reactors. Power generators that they have. Power generators. Now, the blue area on the map shows a medium to high threat of major earthquakes. Now, notice down here, extremely high threat. There's the Madrid fault right here. The Madrid fault. You'll notice they're showing 5 nuclear reactors in Florida alone. Down in Louisiana, you got 2. And up in South Carolina, North Carolina, all right, and Virginia up through here, you'll see all the nuclear reactors on the coast. What's going to happen to these reactors? Because we know that that coast and that area where people are is going to be totally inundated with water. What's going to happen? Is the water going to turn to poison? Is it going to turn to wormwood? All these nuclear reactors, you can kiss them goodbye. There could be massive Fukushimas taking place. But that's to remain to be seen, isn't it? And those of you who are going to maintain and be there, you will see what's going to take place. So I wanted to throw this up to you to show you where the nuclear reactors are, the nuclear plants, as of 1998. This map was of 1998, so there may be more red dots on this map than now. The black dots are the retired reactors. There's a couple up on the East Coast. There's one up in Maine. You can see one here in northern Illinois. There's a retired reactor, looks like up by Traverse City in Michigan, the Lower Peninsula. But there's some nuclear reactors in the southern lower half of lower Michigan here. Illinois here is pretty saturated with nuclear reactors for energy. And then we have Indiana and we have Ohio. Here we have Tennessee. But you got that Madrid fault here. That Madrid fault, when it goes this time, it's going to be a dandy, let me tell you. And over here, notice the great extreme high threat of major earthquakes. This is California, part of Nevada. All right, coming up into part of Nevada here. I'm just showing you the earthquake situation and the reactors here. You know, we're not talking just about water here now. I showed you that earlier. Next, please. Now, for those of my friends in Europe and all over the world, and I give you greetings in the name of Yahweh, I am not here to create confusion. I am not here to create fear. The evil ones create fear, all right? Yahweh, my Father, gives truth and substance to warn you of things that are going to be coming to pass that are already starting to take place. For example, here is England and Ireland, all right? When this is over, this is the white area of England is what's going to be left. And a little spot here of Ireland. Because here we have this Liverpool, and we have showing London here, and Edinburgh and Glastonbury. All of this here is England as the island. The red is what's going to be destroyed. Here we have New Zealand. Just portions of New Zealand, the red, will be destroyed of New Zealand. All right. Here's Japan when it's over. The white part is the only part that's going to remain. And down here on the lower left, the District of Columbia, you can kiss that goodbye. You can see the massive destruction that's going to be just down here of Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, all of Florida, and going across Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, into parts of Texas. Up in the northeast, all right, New Brunswick and Nova Scotia is going to take a terrible beating. The shorelines up here of Vermont, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Maine, all the way down is going to take one heck of a beating. And for those of you that live in Spain and Portugal, all right, the white part is going to remain. The red part, you can kiss it goodbye. But I wanted to show you how staggering this is, especially for jolly old England up here, and for what is coming, as well as the Gulf's portion, east portion of the coastline of the United States and otherwise. Next, please. Here we have a general outlook of Europe. The red part is the part that will be destroyed with all the activity that is coming. The white area is going to be, this is what they're estimating that will be survivable from the upheaval, all right? Now you'll notice again, that's most of England is gone. Ireland is gone. Here we have Scandinavia. A large portion of Scandinavia is going to be there. You can see the shoreline destruction here is going to be mammoth. It's going to be mammoth on France and moving itself way up here, even into the Baltic states and everything else. Father Yahweh is not playing a game here. He is sick and tired of disobedience. And all of you know this has been coming because in somewhere or part of your life you have been told of the great day of vengeance of Yahweh the Christ that's going to come upon an evil world.
Right.
So don't be in denial, self-denial here. You know, I come to tell you the truth and I become your enemy? No, I haven't. I come here to tell you the truth and to share with you, to be your friend. To give you a great warning. So, we have these questions. Number 3, questions. How close will you be to any coastline in the United States? That's a big question, especially if you live on one. Or 4, how close will you be to a very dense population area? 5, naval intelligence believes that everything 100 feet above sea level and below sea level will be destroyed. 6, and everything at 400 feet to 600 feet above sea level is at risk of being damaged and or destroyed on all coastlines. Did not Yahweh the Christ have written to tell you that all the old shall be put away and everything would be new? Yes, he did. Did not Yahweh, YHVH, have written by his prophets that the mountains shall fall and the islands shall disappear? Yes, he did. Number 1, the National Intelligence Agency didn't move from the East Coast to Colorado for the heck of it, or to bask in the sun and get a tan. Number 2, your corrupt federal corporation hasn't been making or creating underground massive cities and stockpiling food and other needed supplies for many, many years with your hard-earned tax money for the hell of it. 3, and your corrupt federal government hasn't been creating monorails deep under the surface of the United States and massive 2-lane highways for the heck of it either, in order for 18-wheeler truck tractors to bring in supplies for all the massive living and surviving quarters they have been building for decades with your tax money. And 4, these safe underground survival living areas are for the same people in government who put the screws to you. And never told or warned you of what is coming. Nice, huh? Instead, they left you high and dry, holding the empty bag in disaster land. Oh, point 5. But they will have enough food and supplies and other needed items to survive with that will last them up to 10 years of living underground. The best. Actual cities are built underground with hospitals, swimming pools, bowling alleys, communications, you name it. They have it all in place. The great natural seed locker bank, remember that in northern Denmark, I believe? Or Norway. They have it hidden. They have all the seeds and that they put up there. They've showed you pictures of it all the time. Do you know why they built it there? Do you know why they put it there? So they would have seeds to reseed the whole world. They're natural seeds, not hybrids. And they put it there for them. For them. When they come out. I hope this isn't a message of despair. I'm really trying to explain to you what you are facing right now. Let's continue. Now a few odds and ends. Number 1, you will be on your own on the surface of the earth, having to fend for yourselves. Nice, huh? What about your shelter, your food, your heat, your protection? 2, you are going to be on your own, or with others of like mind, having to survive. That's really why they wanted your guns, so you could slaughter each other with clubs. or whatever in satanic ritual murder and mayhem. 3, they know that there will be some of their lab rats still alive on the surface to be their slaves when they come out of their underground shelters and cities, so they can be in total control again over those who survive. And then it all starts over, like it was before the great calamity, they think. Note, just please go to YouTube and type in the following: John Moore dash preparing for polar shift of 2017. The man's ex-military intelligence. And another thing, he is very intelligent. He is a very intelligent man. And yes, I did use some of his information in this presentation because I appreciate truthful and honest, intelligent people. Take your time and go to YouTube on your computer and watch it. If you can't or don't have a computer, it's available through me, Dr. James P. Wickstrom, P.O. Box 308, Linwood, Linwood, Michigan, MI 48634, US of A. Or write me at that address, or send me an email on drjameswickstrom@gmail.com. You're going to be very impressed, okay? Now, you will also find some other individuals who have and are still trying to wake people up as to what is laying on their doorstep. Watch them all. When you get to on YouTube of John Moore, Preparing for Polar Shift of 2017, you'll find other people who have put up YouTube presentations into this subject matter. That is, some of them are very worthwhile to watch. Now, I have used some of John Moore's lecture because it's very good information, to say the least. But I also know what Yahweh had his prophets write for what would take place in the latter days of Jacob's, or Israel the man's, troubles, or for the pure white European men, women, and children, and nations thereof. In ending, are you ready to face what is about to take place on Yahweh's earth? Are you ready to face him when you see him? Are you ready for a new heaven and a new earth? The earth is already staggering at 2 to 2.5 degrees side to side. Are you prepared to see the greatest show on earth, directed and produced by Yahweh our Father? And to also see the total destruction of the wicked rulers and those who have followed after them? Remember, it shall come in one day, YHVH said, do you believe in Yahweh or do you believe Yahweh? Time is getting very short for everyone on his earth. I tell you the truth and make you my enemy? And before I depart and end this presentation, never forget that your Judeo-Christian ministers and priests and reverends and rabbis and pastors and Catholic priests and whatever have led the majority of you directly to the pit of disaster for what is coming forth. Let your wrath also be directed at them too. Are you prepared? Spiritually, mentally, physically? You better be. Because what Yahweh has set in motion, no man can set asunder or stop it. No man, even George Soros.
Right.
All right? Even Henry Kissinger. So be it.
So be it.
You know, here's a picture here. It looks like there's some water coming down the street here. These are huge buildings here. Here's a man and his family trying to get into a building to get away from the onrushing tidal waves that are coming in against them. And you know why they're in that predicament? They're in that predicament because of the poison at the pulpits, of the lies not being told to their congregation, of not being honest and truthful, and by their corrupt politicians. And remember again, All these rulers of the world aren't going up to are going down to Antarctica, all right? There's something that's really been big time discovered there. But that's going to be for another presentation, okay? It's not an anomaly down there that they've gone to see. There's something down there, and again, it'll be for another presentation for you. So, in Luke 21:26, chapter 21:26, men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. Verse 23, but woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. For there shall be a great distress in the land, and wrath upon this wicked and vain people. Verse 24, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all the nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled, or the nations of Israel the man. Verse 25, and there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth, distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. That's tsunamis. 26. Again, men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. Verse 27. And then shall they see Yahweh, the seed of Adam, coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Verse 28. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your descendants of Israel the man, the pure white European men, women, and children, and nations of the earth, your redemption, freedom, liberty of the whole world, knowing that we are truly the sons and daughters of Almighty God, your redemption draweth nigh. Remember, look up. What are you going to look at? Could it be Nibiru? Could it be the planet? Huh? You're going to see amazing things. And in Malachi chapter 4, verse 1, for behold, the day comes that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith Yahweh of hosts, that it shall leave them neither a root or a branch. Verse 2, but unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings. And you shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall. Verse 3. And you shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet, in the day that I shall do this, saith Yahweh of hosts. Verse 4. Remember you the law of Moses, my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb, for all of Israel the man, with the statutes and judgments? Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of Yahweh. And he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. So you see, this is where we're at. This is what is taking place. This is what is already in motion. It's been in motion for quite a while. So when you go back, if you go into Arcodius, watch, everything is not what it appears to be. That was the primer to get you ready for my last presentation, from the past to the present. And then from now, from the present to the future. I hope I never upset too many of you. That was not my intention. That is not my intention, okay? May the peace of Yahweh come upon you. You have much to consider at this time. I remind you again, Yahweh will not be slack in his coming. As the time is set for all this to be, Yahweh will not change it. But the wise will understand, and those that have ears to hear and eyes to see shall prepare, and shall prepare themselves and get ready for that great day of destruction by Yahweh the Christ that is very close at hand. So, from the present to the future, I'm Dr. James P. Wickstrom, P.O. Box 308, Linwood, Michigan 48634, USA. My blog site is www.jameswickstrom.com. My email is drjameswickstrom@gmail.com. And you can go to our Arcodeus, ARCODEAUS on YouTube, or on Arcodeus Reloaded, 2 words, on YouTube for full-length presentations, about 180 of them. You will be watching this presentation, most of you, on our Arcodeus. It's Saturday, January 27, 2017. With that, I want to encourage you to be strong, to have faith, make the right decisions, and do what you know is going to be best. Have a wonderful day. Yahweh the Christ be with you and bless you at all times. Thank you. Stand. All right? Verse 21. And it shall come to pass in that day that Yahweh shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings or the rulers of the earth upon the earth. And they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days shall they be visited. Verse 23. Then the moon shall be confounded, and the sun ashamed, when YHVH, Yahweh in English, of hosts, shall reign in Mount Zion, the new Jerusalem, Zion on the Mississippi, the North American continent, and in the new Jerusalem, and before his ancients gloriously. So we're going to have a great electromagnetic situation taking place on the earth. The earth is going to tilt. It's going to stagger like a drunkard. This is all electromagnetics, okay? The North Pole, the South Pole, the equator, the tilting of the earth. It's going to create havoc upon the entire surface of the earth. This is going to come to pass. It is already starting to shake. The earth is already moving and vibrating at about a 2% variation. It's starting to get up there. Volcanoes are getting more rapid, they're getting bigger, earthquakes are getting more frequent, more stronger. We're going into that today. Everything is for you to know and to understand. And what is going to take place? Well, today, okay, for those that, believe me, it's a chore to try and fix stupid. Okay, and there's a lot out there. We just saw more than 1 million of them marching in the Capitol and different places around the world a couple days ago. All right, so with that, a lot of people wonder what's happening. They just can't seem to put it together. But you know, you receive not because you ask not in His name, Yahweh. Or in Aramaic, Yahivahi, or Yahweh is His name, the name of the Almighty Father, Yahweh the Christ, Yahweh the Anointed, Yahweh Emmanuel, God with us. And you get not because you change not. He told you on bended knee to confess your sins, ask forgiveness, and change from your wicked ways. You get not because you change not. It's very important. All right? Next. Now, for those of you who watched the presentation, my last presentation, from the past to the present, now we will zoom into the future. All right? And what our Father says in these 66 books right here, all right? The books, the manual, all right? It states in Isaiah 24:20 that the earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and it shall be removed like out of... I'd like to welcome you today to our study our presentation, dissertation, as we go further into our educational base here of Arcodius, and putting out truth to the people. Truth is a word that is very lacking today because of the political and religious entities who do not want you to know the truth. They want you to sit in darkness so you can maintain being their lab rats, and they can steal from you, purge you of any wealth, any respect, any nobility, any pride. They can just wear you down. But we're going to have a lecture today because my last lecture was entitled From the Past to the Present. This educational presentation will be from the present to the future. And 2 lectures ago, it was Everything is Not What It Appears to Be. I deliberately brought these 3 together to show you that everything is not what it appears to be, and then from the past to the present, and now from the present to the future. And what you see and what you want to believe in your own mind is up to you. Because you have to decide on what is being shown to you, because what is going to be shown to you and told to you today involves everybody, no matter who they are. But especially you out here. The tilting of the earth or its axis, okay, like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, upon the earth, and it shall fall and not rise again. This is the King James Version of Isaiah 24:20. So we'll start at verse 17. Fear and the pit and the snare are upon you, O inhabitants of the earth. And it shall come to pass that he who fleeth from the noise of the fear shall fall into the pit, and he that comes up out of the midst of the pit shall be taken in a snare. For the windows from on high are open, mass of rain, thunder, lightning, wind, and the foundations of the earth do shake. These are the earth plates. These are earthquakes, mighty earthquakes. He said it was never ever happened as big. And the earth is utterly broken down. The earth is cleanly dissolved, and the earth is moved exceedingly. The earth isn't going to be destroyed, but the earth is moved exceedingly. Verse 20. Again, the earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard. It shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. Did not our Father tell us that the mountains would fall? What creates mountains? The earth plates do. They push up the mountains like the Himalayas and everything else. We are going into subject matter that is going to be very, very important for you to hear today. And to understand, those of you who follow Yahweh, call upon Yahweh's name, Yahweh the Christ, all right, and who understand that we, the white European, men, women, and children, and nations of the earth, are the descendants of Israel the man, once called Jacob. That we are, i.e., God's chosen people. So with that, let's get started into our presentation. From the present to the future, I'm Dr. James P. Wickstrom, P.O. Box 308, Linwood, Michigan, 48634, U.S. of A. My blog site is www.jameswickstrom.com. My email is drjameswickstrom@gmail.com. Send me an email. And my 2 presentation areas on YouTube is Arcodius, Arcodeus, and Arcodius Reloaded on YouTube. Most of you will be watching this on Arcodius. Some of you will have the DVD that you'll be watching in your living room or on your laptop or wherever. It's Saturday, January 27, 2017. I want to thank you again for allowing me to come into your living rooms or wherever you are, whether you're watching this on Facebook or Twitter or wherever instrument you're watching it on, because the truth is for you to have something very lacking in the educational sector today. I have my can't fix stupid wrench handy today, so I'm going to keep that real handy.